Hello everybody and welcome to another Expanded Guide. Today, Bryn and I are going to be talking about Sefina Rousseaus, the painter. I wanted Bryn here because Bryn is the master of Sefina Rousseaus, because the only time I've played her was a deck that Travis built for me, and the only time I can recall Travis playing her was that curse deck that he just played in Blob, which was kind of a... He could be tried for torture in the Geneva Convention. So, Bryn, who is Sefina Rousseaus and what does she do?
Well, Sefina Rousseaus is the painter, and she plays events, lots of events, often the same one many times. We've got a kind of a wonky stat line here where we've got big numbers and our numbers that don't actually do anything for the colors we get to play, really. Brain and foot, and twos and our other numbers that don't, you can't really use that for much. You get some weird stuff going on here where instead of getting to mulligan, you draw 13 cards. Then you choose up to 5 events and place those beneath your investigator card. And you get to keep 8 of the remaining cards, which, if you got to keep 5 events underneath your investigator card, should be the amount you have left as your opening hand. You discard any that you didn't choose to keep. You can't mulligan, but you do still get to redraw your weaknesses because the game says you don't get to start with them, even if it would be better for you. As an action, you can choose an event beneath this card and draw it. This does not provoke attacks of opportunity. And the star effect is +3. You may choose an event beneath this card and draw it. 5 and 9 for our health and sanity. And we've got a deck size of 33, which is a little bit odd, but mostly there to offset the fact that we start the game with extra cards in our hand. We get rogue cards 0 to 5, neutral 0 to 5, and mystic 0 to 2, which are some of the best colors for events that aren't yellow.
Yeah.
Because yellow cards are kind of good.
Yeah.
We get 3 copies of the Painted World and 1 copy of Star of Hyades, and a random basic weakness. The Painted World is our primary way to interact with event cards beneath our Investigator card. It has a null cost, and commits for a brain, a foot, and a wild, which makes it a pretty reasonable skill card, even if you don't want to use it for its intended purpose. It's a Sefina Rousseaus deck, only you cannot be placed beneath Sefina Rousseaus because it would create a sort of weird loop.
Yeah.
And that's fair why they don't want that to happen. You can play it as an exact copy of a non-exceptional event beneath Sefina Rousseaus, then remove it from the game instead of discarding it. So you can use this to play extra copies of any sort of events you've got. Like maybe you want to have knives for hands. That's cool. This card can be that. Maybe you want to read the signs. Maybe you want to play... what do you call it? Easy mark, like 4 times. Because that could happen if you have multiple Painted Worlds in your hand. Either way, this card is very flexible and can do pretty close to anything we really want it to do. The Star of Hyades is not really that terrible of a weakness. You randomly choose an event beneath Sefina Rousseaus and remove it from the game. If you cannot, you take 1 damage and 1 horror. If your deck has 5 or more cards in it, you shuffle the star back into your deck instead of discarding it. So it is a little bit tough to get rid of, and you definitely can, if occasionally get a little unlucky and shuffle it back and draw it again in fairly short order. But all things considered, it doesn't actually cause you a tempo loss, unlike most weaknesses.
Yeah. So one question I usually always like to start with these videos is, what do you look for when you're playing this Investigator? But this one's pretty obvious. You want a big chunk of events.
Yes, sir.
For when you're looking at building a Sefina deck, what do you like? What is your optimal, in your opinion, event ratio? Like, how much of your deck do you want to be events?
I'm usually looking to play between 13 and 18 events, probably closer to 18, unless I'm feeling lucky. Not counting the Painted Worlds, because you can't choose to put the Painted World under Sefina, and you really do want to have those 5 events.
Yes.
Even if some of them are copies of the same event.
Yeah, because it does feel bad when you don't get the full 5 cards beneath her at the start of the game. You really want to avoid that.
Yeah, then your investigator card kind of doesn't do very much.
Yes, yeah.
And that's never a good time. If you, like Justin knows this. He plays Jim all the time. You know.
When your investigator's text is blank, it's not a good time.
It's just kind of not great.
Yeah. So the strength that Travis has put here is great defensive stats. The 4 and the foot and the brain and the 4 and the 4 and the brain and the foot is a really good combination for defensive stats. And she has a great card pool. Like, it's...
Really? Yeah.
Like, the events in these two classes are kind of crazy, right? Like...
You can make them do just about anything you want.
Yes, yeah. It's very nice. Her weaknesses are obviously the poor offensive stats. As Bryn said, you don't really have, like, much to do with your book and your fist. As much as you kind of want to, you really, like, it is a little bit... You're going to be feeling it. Basically, if you don't have the tricks in your hand. She's a very unconventional investigator and a very cool investigator, too. And then she also has this brain-foot dichotomy where your foot, like, even though you have 4 foot, a lot of the times, like, you're going to be looking at, like, you look at, like, some of the cards that we're going to see here, and it's like a evade spell. And it's like, I'm using my brain, my 1 good number, in place of my other good number. It's not advantageous in other ways. So it's just something that's like, something that's going to pop up. You're going to be like, my 2 defensive stats are kind of like eating into each other right now. But I think Sefina's a very strong investigator, and I think there's a lot of really cool things you can do to build with her, and there's a lot of cool cards. So why don't we dive in and all start talking about the core set. Alright, so in core set here we got pickpocketing. After you evade an enemy, you get to draw a card. You're going to be looking at playing cards from your hand, and like, you know, playing your Painted Worlds, and you're going to want to replace those cards. And this is a way to turn your defensive stat into something. Sefina, you can kind of build her, because she is a rogue, and she is a mystic. The 2 classes that can kind of flex as need be, especially because of her mystic side. So you can be, you can deal with enemies, or you can just avoid enemies, depending on how you want to handle it. Leo DeLuca's here. He gives you additional actions, which are good. He does cost 6, so just something to be aware of. But when you can play 4 copies of Faustian Bargain, that's money is a little bit less of an issue. It's
only a little bit, though.
Yeah. We have Elusive. This is a really strong, fast event where it costs 2, disengage from each enemy, engage with you, and move to a revealed location with no enemies. That's nice. That's just like a lot of free movement packed into 1 card. I mean, it's not free, you have to pay 2 for it, but one thing to also be aware of when we look at all these events, when they are placed under Sefina, you can have up to 3 additional copies in your deck because of the Painted Worlds, so you should look at each event differently when you are looking at Sefina, because it's less of like, I'm going to play 2 copies of this deck on a deck cycle, 2 copies of this card on a deck cycle. Instead, it can become, I can play even more than just 2 copies of this card on a deck cycle. But also, just to be aware as well with Star of Hyades, while it doesn't present a tempo loss, it could just eat the card that you wanted to play underneath you. So just always live in fear of potentially losing a card. So you use it before you lose it. That's the saying, right? We have
any time that the game presents you with the option to draw one of the cards beneath you, you probably want to.
Yeah, just take it.
Yeah, like notably with your star effect.
Yes.
Even if you want to play it as a Painted World, unless you've got the Painted World right now, just put the card in your hand. You'll be happier in the long run.
Heck yeah. We have Backstab, which is a way to turn our foot, our defensive stat, into a combat stat, so we can deal some damage with an attacking with that. And then we have Sneak Attack, where you deal 2 damage to an exhausted enemy or location. More ways to kill things is good if you want to be killing things. You see these little tags on the Holy Rosaries and the Shriveling and the Arcane Initiate. This means that you can find a link to those videos in the description, which is the Mystic Staples, or the Spell Cards, or the Rogue Staples, depending on where you find that Elder Sign. But you can find all those down in the description. Holy Rosary just gives you more brain and some more soak. Shriveling we talk about in more detail in that video about the Mystic Spells. But basically, this allows you to do things with your brain, whether it be attack, get clues, or evade. In this case, with Shriveling, it's attacking and dealing damage. And then there's Arcane Initiate, which after it is play, you place a Doom on it, but that's okay because you'll probably have a plan to kill it. If you don't, you probably want to build a plan to kill it or play it on a Doom tickover. But this allows you to find spell cards, and there's a lot of very strong spell events. And I'm going to go back in time. Look at that. The Painted World is a spell. So you can find and fish out Painted Worlds with your Arcane Initiate, which is pretty sick. All right, Bryn, why don't you keep the core set going with these guys?
All right. We've got Drawn to the Flame. This one for the low cost of drawing one encounter card, which we probably shouldn't be too afraid of because, 4 in our foot in our brain, we're pretty well poised to deal with those. We just get to discover 2 clues. Sometimes you get to play the Painted World as this, and you're like, I'm just going to take all the clues, and I'm never going to make a test, and that's how it's going to be game. We've got Ward of Protection cards, just plain good. It's an event, it's a spell, it's a spirit. It does a lot of things that you probably care about. Plus 9 sanity, so
yeah,
who really cares about that? Emergency cash, even more so than with most investigators, running out of money as Sefina sucks because you don't do anything without your events. So, bear that in mind. We've got Guts, we got Manual Decks, we got Unexpected Courage. Realistically, we could be playing any number of these, even the ones that aren't shown here, if we're trying to play cards that want us to make use of those numbers, maybe by adding our brain or our foot to them. But they're all just good. +2 is like the number you want to be succeeding by, or you want to be up on the test to succeed. We got upgraded Leo DeLuca. He costs 1 less money because it's the only fair thing they could really do to him in exchange for XP. If you're playing Leo, this is good. It's just better. Not a priority upgrade, but 5 feels a lot better than 6.
Yeah.
We got the Sure Gamble. This is one of the strongest green core set events. You just get to take a revealed chaos token with a negative modifier and pretend that negative was a positive. You can even run tests that you should have no business being able to pass and just hope for a big negative when you have this card. And with the Painted World, you can probably just do whatever needs to be done with this.
Yeah. Has there been more cards exploring this green cheat the game?
The closest we've gotten to that so far is that Hit Me event.
Hit Me, yeah, that's the other one that's closer, yeah. It's a cool flavor. It's a cool flavor.
Yeah.
All right, I think there's only... Why don't you take these, then I'll jump to
Sure.
Dunwich, because these are pretty...
We got Hot Streak. This card is good in the same vein that Emergency Cash is. For 3, you get 10 resources. And Sefina tends to be rather resource hungry because without playing events, you don't do anything, and events cost money. So you need that. We got Mind Wipe. This is an interesting niche. When it's good, it's really good. When it doesn't do anything, it commits for a brain and a fist. That's what it does.
Yeah.
It's fast. Play after a phase begins. You choose a non-elite enemy at your location. Treat the chosen enemy's printed text box as if it were blank except for traits until the end of the phase. There are a lot of enemies that have a very scary text box, and without said text box, they're kind of just, they're garbage.
They're just guys.
Yeah. We got the Bulletproof Vest. This one here is here to offset the fact that we only have 5 hearts. 4 more hearts is almost twice what we get to start with, and 2 money seems like a pretty solid trade for that.
Yeah. But these ones as well, like, especially Bulletproof Vest, when you get a bigger collection, this card, like, really goes down in value, right? But if you have a smaller collection and you're looking for ways to get more health because you're dying, Bulletproof Vest can do that. All right, on to Dunwich, our favorite town in all of wherever this is from. We have Think on Your Feet. It's 1 cost. When an enemy would spawn your location, you may move to a connecting location. Basically just a way for you to avoid enemies if you do not want to deal with those pesky enemies. Rite of Seeking in our spell video. This one exists as well to help your brain do something. In this case, it is get clues. This is really nice with Sefina because you need to be active, and sometimes, that just means you have to just investigate. But investigating at 2 books is not great, because maybe you don't have an event that gets clues. Rite of Seeking can help you do that. We have ritual candles. This is a quiet little favorite of Bryn and I believe, where it just makes the tokens, the symbol tokens, a little bit less bad for legitimately one of the smallest costs the game could offer, pretty much. Sefina her hand slots can be a little bit competitive, but if you're not using your hand slots for anything, consider ritual candles. They're just, if you have 2 of these out, it's basically just an unexpected courage if you draw any of the tokens, which is kind of sick, especially the cultist, which usually reveals another token. It's a good deal. We have Delve Too Deep. It's a staple. It gives you more experience at the cost of encounter cards. In that video, in our stable video, we talk about the best time to use Delve Too Deep, so check it out there. We have I'm Outta Here, which is a little panic button. This one gets better when you know the scenarios, like when you want to be able to resign. However, worst case scenario, it still just commits for 2 foot, which is a pretty good deal. We have Lone Wolf. When your turn begins, if there are no other investigators in your location, you gain 1 resource. Because Sefina has good foot and good brain, she can probably go on her own pretty well. And this is a good way for you to get more money, which is important for playing the events, because, as Bryn said, not playing your events, because they cost money, in event-focused investigator is a bad time. In addition, Lone Wolf could also just be triggered by proper, smart turn sequencing, because you can choose other investigators to go first if they're leaving your location. So also be aware that is a method to gain money with Lone Wolf as well. We have Quick Thinking here, which is a great skill. It's in our staples. It gives you more actions, and more actions means more time to win the game, and winning the game is fun. Emergency Cash, gain 3 resources and draw a card. And hey, we made your Emergency Cash replace itself. If you want to upgrade it, go for it. I've actually been upgrading these Emergency Caches more than I'd like to admit lately, and I've been enjoying it. I can say it's actually, not a bad time. So consider it. Finishing off Dunwich here, we have Relic Hunter and Charisma. These are our 2 staples that are these are the pinnacle, staples. These are huge. You get an additional accessory slot and an ally slot. So if you want to be playing multiple accessories, grab Relic Hunter. If you want to be playing multiple allies, you grab yourselves a Charisma. And then last but not least, we have the Gold Pocket Watch, which is a beautiful, exceptional asset that allows you to either skip a phase when it begins or repeat a phase after it ends. So this can include, for example, repeating the investigator phase or skipping the investigator phase because you want to make your friends mad at you. There's a lot of power in this exceptional card. It does cost 8 experience because that's how exceptional cards work. But the Gold Pocket Watch is always a fun time. All right, Bryn, on to Carcosa, which is Sefina's cycle.
Repeat the Mythos phase, you said.
Go, go, go.
Hard mode activated. Uncage the Soul. So this one, it is in the Staples video, but I am going to talk about it a little bit more here because it has a strange interaction with the Painted World. Because the Painted World is a spell while it's in your hand, even if the event it's copying is not, you can play Uncage the Soul to play it for 3 less, because at the point in time when the cost is calculated, it's still in your hand and still a spell. Even if, you want to play it as, I don't know, some sort of green trick or tactic or whatever.
Oh, okay, I get you.
Yeah. It's a bit of a weird one and, not the most intuitive thing, but when you look at the step breakdown, it starts to make sense. Unless they've changed the rules. It's been a little while since I've looked at the rules, and probably an update and a half. But that's how it worked last time I was familiar with it.
Yeah, to the current extent of your knowledge, that's how it works.
Yeah, I don't believe that has changed.
Yeah.
Otherwise, card's just good. We got Astral Travel. This is a 3-costed event. You get to move to a revealed location and reveal a random token from the Chaos Bag. If you reveal a symbol token, well, not a symbol token, I suppose, one of the classic symbol tokens.
The bad ones, the bad classic.
Yeah. You must discard an item or an asset you control. If you cannot, you take a damage.
Oh.
Taking a damage is like the most minimal cost this card can have, because it doesn't even necessarily happen. It's like a third of a damage. Discarding an ally or an item, sure, that can suck, but
Not if it's
like
David.
yeah, right. Like sometimes it's David and he's got 3 Doom on him, and he just kind of needs to die anyway. So whatever. Sometimes the game makes you discard your ritual candles, and you're just like, this astral travel just gave me a free turn's worth of movement, so
It's okay.
It'll be what it'll be. We got David Renfield. He makes money like nobody's business. No money, no events, no events. Bad time. Storm of Spirits. This is one of the fighting options that we've got as an event. You get to fight with your brain instead of your punch, which is kind of the thing we're looking to do. Not necessarily fighting, but using our good numbers instead of our bad ones. If you succeed, you deal 2 damage to each enemy at your location. If you drew one of the bad symbol tokens, then you deal 1 damage to each investigator at your location, which can get a little costly if you're playing it lots with the painted world, but it also costs 3 money, and how many times do you really need to do 2 damage to every enemy at your location in a scenario?
Yeah.
I got watch this. It commits for a brain and a foot. It's got another symbol on it, but we're not going to look at that.
Yeah, it's not there.
You commit it to a skill test you're performing. It's an additional cost. You can spend up to 3 resources, and if you succeed by at least 1, you gain twice that many resources. So, like, money, but you got to be good.
I like this mental picture of like us being like, "Hey Travis, watch this," and then we play Storm of Spirits and we just roast them.
Just roasty toast.
Yeah.
And like in the perfect world, the enemy where you're attacking is engaged with Travis, and you draw the auto fail.
Yes, yeah.
And you're just like, cool, take 3 though.
Yeah. We told you to watch this, Travis.
We've got the Quantum Flux. This card occupies a little bit of a strange headspace where you get to shuffle your discard pile back into your deck and then draw a card, which doesn't, on the face of it, appear to do anything. The one thing that this card really does is help you to mitigate the Star of Hyades in a way that pretty much nothing else does. Because, let's be real, you're not going to draw it with less than 5 cards left in your deck and get to put it in your discard pile. It's not going to happen. So you kind of want to make sure that you've got cards enough in your deck that it's no longer probable that you're just going to draw it and like keep drawing it. We got a narrow escape. One of the biggest things this one does is commit for 2 foot. However, you can also play it when an enemy makes an attack of opportunity against you to cancel that attack and get +2 skill value for the next skill test you perform this turn, which is kind of good. Situationally very good, but like good. The Spirit Attain. This card has a fight action where you get +2 punch for the attack, but also has a lightning bolt during a skill test on a spell card, which includes spell events. You can exhaust the Spirit Attain to get +2 skill value for this test. You can't use this on a Painted World test unless it is copying a spell, because it's a copy of the other thing.
Yeah, it ceases. It's like the Uncaged the Soul. It's like a soul. It's like a spell while it's resolving, but like this is no longer a spell when that's happening.
Yeah, as soon as you're trying to do a thing with the card, it's whatever the Painted World is copying, not the Painted World anymore.
I've never played Narrow Escape in Trish, and it seems like it'd be good there too. Like,
yeah, that card is also kind of sweet with the bow and arrow.
Yeah. Narrow Escape's actually like a pretty alright card. It's like it's like all you want from a dodge is a rogue, right?
Yeah, when it's like it is a little narrow, but when it's good, it's good.
Yeah, I should play that card again. I should try it out. All right. Oh, okay. I'll keep this going. There's a lot of cards in her cycle. Who would have thought? We have upgraded Sneak Attack. This is just to an enemy not engaged with you at your location. So why evade it when you can just stab it when Rex is holding it instead? Like, and then Rex can watch the life drain out of the cultist's eyes. Like, it's a good deal. We have Pickpocketing. This is now fast, and after you evade an enemy, draw 1 card or gain 1 resource, and if you succeed by 2, you do both. So, like, if you're doing this plan, an upgraded Pickpocketing, especially on the fast part, which I always forget about, somehow. I miss fast a lot. It's like the keyword I miss most, especially on assets, because I'm like, asset, go and play. So don't be like Justin and don't mess up. We have the emergency cache, level 3. Gain 4 resources or place 4 supply tokens among assets controlled by investigators of your location or any combination thereof. This is good if you are playing things with supplies. And also just if you really want more money and you don't like have things to put your experience into, you can buy an upgraded emergency cache. Also like these also go up in value once again. Like it's an event, you can play it under yourself, you can play it multiple times, and like that's where like why especially I imagine Travis are including these here, because money's important, but also because it goes up in value when you can play it multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
We have Suggestion. Yeah. This is a level 4 3 cost card. It takes up a spell slot. You get to evade with your you get to evade not with your brain. You add your brain to your skill value. If you succeed by at least 2, if you do not succeed by at least 2, remove 1 charge from Suggestion. You can tell I've seen this card many times in my life before. When a non-elite enemy would attack you, spend 1 charge and cancel that attack. This, obviously, like this is like for Sefina. I can't really think of like another rogue that wants this. Like I think Marie can play it, but the card actually seems like good in Sefina. If you're like trying to do this, like I'm gonna just ignore enemies, Suggestion is a great way of doing that.
Yeah, it's also a tank with pickpocketing.
Yes. Oh my god. Yeah.
You will be passing tests by the requisite amount. It will happen.
Yeah. So like the ignore enemies. Evade Sefina, Pickpocketing Suggestion is a great combination.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you can also play it in Akachi.
Yeah, because it has charges. Yeah,
because it uses charges.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I should play this card just to say I've done it. I've never played it.
Yeah, even if you're playing it as like the very boring 3 dodges against non-elites, it's not terrible.
Yeah, because you do not spend the charge. You do not remove the charge if you see by. Yeah, it's a good card.
It's lockpicks, but for evading.
Yeah, that's sick. And like we know how often lockpicks break, which is like never. You never break all 3. I don't think it's ever happened to me. It's gonna happen today when we start recording, just because I cursed my luck. So that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah. Game heard you talking shit.
Yeah. We have the level 2 Ward of Protection. It's a staple. It can protect other people. It's just really good. Same as the other one, but for everybody. We have Time Warp. It's a level 2 event. Play after an investigator at your location finishes resolving an action during his or her turn. Undo that action. Return the game to exactly as it was before, including that action's cost. We played this card. I played this card a lot when it first came out. Card's just fun. It's like a lucky that you just have to go. It's like there's so many cards that like do this. It's like live and learn, right? It's so fancy, but like rewinding everything is fun, and it can like if things go really wrong, it's like you can just be like never mind. That did not happen. Let's not worry about that. And then we got Key of Ys. It's good. Key of Ys is good. All right, Bryn, we're into Forgotten Age, which is a nice, small, simple one here.
All right. We've got You Handle this one, which is one of the rogue staples. It is kind of like uniquely bad here because oftentimes you're the one who's good at handling the encounter cards. Not always, but sometimes. We got the Lucky Cigarette Case. Second verse, same as the first. Except this one isn't uniquely bad here. It's just still good. We got Premonition. This one's a weird one. It is a 0-costed event. Fast. Play during any lightning bolt window. Any player lightning bolt window. I'm not certain that there are other kinds of lightning bolt. It doesn't matter. You put it into play and reveal a random chaos token that you then seal on the premonition. Forced, when a chaos token would be revealed, it's the one on the premonition. So you can use this card to kind of see what would happen if you tried something stupid, and if it would work.
Then it's not stupid, is it?
Then it isn't stupid anymore.
It's genius.
I'm not actually certain how this one works with the Painted World, because I feel like the Painted World puts itself into play, seals the token, and then removes itself from the game.
Oh, someone on YouTube is definitely going to know that. So if you do know that exact interaction, let us know in the comments.
Like, I've got a feeling that's how that goes, but I very much could be. I've been wrong about rules in this game before.
What? We're never
and
wrong
I will
in this
be
channel.
again. We got Slip Away. This one, you get to add your book to your skill value for an evade attempt. If you succeed by 2 or more, and the evaded enemy is non-elite, it does not ready during the next upkeep phase. So you can kind of just use this with the Painted World to like pick one enemy and be like, no, buddy, not you. You don't get to play this game. We got Counterspell. This one, when you reveal one of the bad symbol tokens, you pay 2 and you just cancel it. Just don't reveal a new token to replace it. No, we don't do that here. It's just done.
Yeah, bye.
We're done. It's a pretty neat way to get around critical tests. We got Recall the Future. Personally, I dislike this card, but only because of the memory issue it creates, and I always forget about it. Like, always. It's strong. It is a 2-costed Augury Ritual asset, and as a reaction, when a skill test you are performing begins, if Recall the Future is ready, place a Chaos token, or name a Chaos token. If the named Chaos token is revealed during this test, you exhaust it to get +2 skill value to the test. So obviously you want to be naming a token that's going to make you fail by 2. I suppose if you're playing a cursed build, you could play with this card to negate the first curse token you draw while still drawing the curse token for your cards.
Oh, that's fun.
That's kind of neat.
That is kind of neat.
Yeah, the awkward part about this one is remembering to use it.
Yes, yeah.
On tests that you want to use it on, and making sure you don't use it on tests that you don't want to use it on.
Yeah.
Although that part's not so hard. If you are playing on, based on the difficulty you're playing on, you can probably just name a token that's not in the bag.
Yeah.
And it's not a forced effect anyway, so I suppose you don't have to do it at all. Yeah. Disregard that last.
Yeah, with this
you
one...
You just don't have to use it.
It's the same memory. I have it too, so I usually just say, like, there's usually one token that's, like, the one I'll fail on, so I just say always that one. And then, like, when I reveal it, my brain, the synapse slowly fire, and I'm like, wait, I had to do something with this token. And then I'm like, oh, yeah, Recall the Future. But, like, I also don't play it just because of that. Like, the card's good, but I don't like it in my play area. But, I should play it more. I realistically should include this card more. I want to try it with curse tokens. That does sound fun.
Yeah. I think that's kind of neat.
Yeah. Okay, where are we now? We're in the Circle Undone. All right. So we have Deny Existence. This is a staple. The game is going to force you to do something, and you say no. Easy as that. So we have Intel Report, Small Favor, and Decoy. I'm going to talk about all these cards like together because they're kind of like friends in a way in like design space. But they all cost 2, and you can pay 2. You can increase its cost by 2 times, and each time you increase its cost by 2, it does something different. Or it adds an additional effect. So Intel Report is discover 1 clue. You can increase its cost by 2 to discover 2 clues. You can increase its cost by 2 to change from your location to up to 2 locations away. And like you can do either or. So you can do like 1 clue, 2 away. You can do 2 clues. You can do 2 clues, 2 away. And it would cost 4, 4, and 6 respectively following all that idea. Small Favor does it with damage. And Decoy is evading enemies. These cards are fun. I love these cards. They're like really cool like design space that they exist in. And they're good in Sefina. You do need to be aware though that especially if you're playing these off of your Painted World, it's going to be expensive, right? Like this is like playing an Intel Report for 2 has its moments where it's going to totally be okay. But you really want to play, like you should be looking at Intel Report especially as like this card costs 4, right? More often than not, if not all the time. So, like, when you're looking at your curve, which if you don't know what your curve is, I don't know if we ever talked about that in an official video, but your curve is your mana, your cost of your cards. Look at that, the magic was seeping through, seeping
Mana
through there.
value.
But the cost of your cards, like, if you have a lot of high cost cards, you're going to want to put more economy, resource production into your deck to balance that out. So with Intel Report, Small Favor, and Decoy, while you're building your deck, you're going to want to look at those as 4 cost cards as opposed to 2 cost cards minimum. Not so much for Small Favor and Decoy, but especially for Intel Report. We have Swift Reflexes. Play during any investigator's turn except during an action. Immediately take an action as if it was your turn. That's fun. Yeah, just more action at the cost of 2. It's an event, so you can play multiples of it. If you want to take more actions, or building like an action Sefina deck, they do exist. She is a rogue. Swift Reflexes would be good for that. We have Wither and Sixth Sense. These are both spells that we talk about in our spell video, but I do want to take a little notice here for Sefina. I think that they are really nice here because, like, if you want to be the main Kluber, you're going to want to be looking at stuff like Clairvoyance and Rite of Seeking. That's just, like, probably the right choices for you. However, as a flex, like, Sixth Sense especially is a really nice clue-getting spell because it just allows you to go at 4, probably 5 if you have a Holy Rosary, because you're probably playing Sixth Sense and going with that as your plan. And, like, if you reveal the symbol tokens, it gets better, which is strange. But, like, it's just a good, like, flex clue-getting spell with Sixth Sense. Wither is there, too. It's there, too.
Wither is also here.
Yeah. We then have the Moon, which is Moon 18, gives you more foot. Hey, what's the stat that you can use? Foot. I imagine on the next slide, Bryn's going to talk about the Brain one right over here.
That makes sense. Yeah. We got the 4 of Cups. It is more Brain. It's one of the numbers you're trying to do things with. Mm-hmm. You'll probably know which one you want, unless you're building an Anna Caslow deck, in which case you want both. We got Banish. It's an evade spell. It's an event. You can evade only on a non-elite enemy because reasons. The attempt uses Brain instead of Foot, which on the face of it doesn't seem like it really does anything, and that's because it doesn't. However, if you succeed, you move the enemy just evaded to any location in play. If you reveal one of the bad tokens during the evasion attempt, that enemy does not ready during the next upkeep phase, which is kind of neat. I got a phone ringing.
Yeah, I'll tag in. Yeah, so this is nice because it moves an enemy across the board, which can be very beneficial when the time comes to it. Just be like, I don't want to deal with this enemy. Let's shunt it somewhere else. We have Divermus Mysterious, Signs of the Black Stars. This is a 2-cost item tome asset that takes up a hand slot. As an action, you can exhaust it and place 1 Doom on it. Play a spell or insight event from your discard pile, reducing its resource cost by 1. After that event resolves, remove it from the game. So there's a lot of things going for this card. It cares about events, which Sefina cares about events. And, it plays them again, making them cheaper. Obviously, if you're building about Divermus Mysterious, you're going to want to look at, building with a Doom plan. And Moonlight Ritual, actually, you can play it more times with Sefina. So it's something for you to consider. But she can also run things like Sacrifice. I think Sacrifice just cares about mystic assets. But there's a lot of ways you can go if you wanted to build around Divermus Mysterious with Sefina Rousseaus. And then the last asset here is Double Double. I've played Sefina twice. Once on YouTube and once currently actually right now off YouTube. I love it in Sefina. It's exceptional, costs 8 experience. After you play an event, exhaust it. Play that event again as if it were in your hand. Wow. Such value. All your events get better. This is especially spicy with money-making events because, it basically just makes you rich AF. It's very fun. And this is kind of where, the Dragon Sefina first kind of birthed from, right? She was like, I'll play this, whatever that one card is called that I don't remember the name of. Hot Streak. I'll play Hot Streak twice and just gain 20 resources. Seems good. Seems good. All right, Bryn. Now that the phone has stopped, I'll throw you to Dream Eaters because there is a very special card here that I know you love.
We've got the Crystallizer of Dreams. It's a one-costed asset. It's an item. It's a relic. It takes up your accessory slot. As an additional cost to put this card into play, you must search your bonded cards for a Guardian of the Crystallizer enemy and shuffle it into your deck. As a reaction effect, after you play an event, you can attach it face down to the Crystallizer of Dreams to a maximum of 5 attached events. The attached events may be committed to skill tests as if they were in your hand. As far as I can tell, face down is mostly there because technically the other players aren't supposed to know what's in your hand.
Yeah. Also, I imagine for like board state to make it less confusing. Yeah.
Yeah, I usually attach them face up so that I can still see what I have, so I'm not constantly checking it every time I go to do a thing.
Same.
But you know, you do you.
Mm-hmm.
This card is kind of sweet though. If you have been looking at the events that we've been talking about, lots of them commit for either 2 of the same symbol, making them like a free skill card with this card in play, or they commit for brain or foot, which are the numbers that we're going to want. The Guardian of the Crystallizer is a 3/3/3 enemy with Hunter, Prey, Investigators that have a Crystallizer of Dreams only. It enters play exhausted.
We should do a video where we all play Crystallizer and just confuse the fuck out of the Guardians.
Yeah, like, give me my egg back. Like, no.
Yeah.
But also, he's got it now.
Yeah. You can. This isn't your egg, but I understand you just want it.
But I understand why you might feel that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's mostly not a real problem. Entering play exhausted means he's very easy to just kind of ignore.
Yeah.
And even if he's not, sometimes you have knives for hands, and jellyfish don't do very well against that.
They don't.
We got an open gate. This one's myriad, so you get up to 3 of them in your deck. And it's fast. For 1 cost, you can play it during your turn, attach it to a location in play, group limit 3 in play, and investigators can move between locations that have an open gate attached to them, as if they were connected. Notably, enemies cannot. So you can use this to cheese a lot of hunter enemies or whatnot. This one also goes way up in value if the better you know the scenario you're playing.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you're going to be coming back to a place lots, and sometimes you really just aren't. We've got the Scroll of Prophecy. This one is a solid option. It takes up for your hand slots. For 4 secrets, you can, as an action, spend a secret to choose an investigator at your location. That investigator draws 3 cards, then discards a card from their hand. If you don't have events, you don't do anything. You do get to start with a whole bunch of them in your hand, but you do burn through them a little quicker than you might think.
Yep.
We got Read the Signs and Spectral Razor. These 2 are on the staple video. They're just real good. You get to add your brain to a number to do a thing, do the thing good. Kind of like all you really want from a card. We've got Ethereal Form, who is like the annoying little brother.
Yeah. I'm here too.
You know? Yeah. Like you gotta let him play goalie.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Mom is like just Spectral Razor. Mom said it's my turn to play in the Nintendo.
Yeah. The difference here is that this one is evade, and you add, which I mean, admittedly gives you a very big number to play with, but it is still an evade attempt. The other 2 forward what you're trying to do in the game, and this one just makes you not die for a bit.
Yeah.
If you succeed, you disengage from each other enemy engaged with you, and for the remainder of the round, you are ethereal. You can't see it, but I'm like wiggling my hands as I say.
I heard it in your voice.
Yeah.
I did. Ethereal.
Yeah, like that. Enemies cannot engage or be engaged with you, and you cannot attack or deal damage to enemies, because you're a ghost now. for the rest of the turn. I think in some campaigns, this card is going to be like one of the best cards you ever played.
Yeah.
But other times it is just going to be like, I get to evade at 8 one time, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, no worries.
I do think that in the design, I think all the evade stuff of these like the redheaded stepchild, they should just cost one less. They should not be priced the same.
Yeah, I mean, if you're playing at lower player counts, obviously like evading goes way up in value because there are a lot of enemies. You can just be like,
yeah,
see ya, I'm never coming back. I'm going to get cigarettes.
Yeah.
So like I understand that from that standpoint, but also if you're playing at a low player count like 2 or 1, you already suffer enough from the game like not really scaling down to that level very well.
Yeah.
We got Easy Mark. This one costs 1 XP and it's Myriad, which means that for that 1 XP you get 3 copies of it.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a staple. It gets you money and cards. Just good. You can play the Painted World as copies of this, but I'm not sure that you can use the reaction effect on Easy Mark to play a Painted World from your hand as a copy of Easy Mark, because it isn't an Easy Mark in your hand.
Yeah, it's when you play it becomes an Easy Mark. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Like you can start the chain with a Painted World onto an Easy Mark, but I don't believe you can follow. Like, obvious. If I'm wrong, YouTube, please let me know.
Yeah, do your thing.
Yeah.
All right. Why don't you take this last card in this cycle?
Sure. We got the Summoned Hound.
Bad dog.
For 1x. Got the Summoned Hound for 1 XP. You get an ally who takes up an arcane slot too, because he's a magic dog.
Yeah.
He's not a very good dog, though, because sometimes he bites you. As a lightning bolt, you can exhaust him to either investigate with a base value of 5 or fight with a base value of 5. And either one of those things are things you don't get to do very well.
Yeah, it does seem nice in Sefina. It does seem nice here.
Yeah. Yeah, and the downside is just an enemy.
Yeah.
Like admittedly, when you draw the Unbound Beast, you do lose your Summoned Hound because they are in fact one and the same. But you can probably just run away from him, or feed him some knives for hands or something.
Yeah.
It'll be fine.
I always look at Summoned Hound, and I've recently played a Patrice deck with Summoned Hound, and it was a good time. But I just feel like, because like you're cheating it into play, but I feel like Summoned Hound, like if you, like there should have been some sort of thing that like if you evade it, it goes back to a good boy because you're like good boy. You can like there's I don't know. Yeah. But
yeah, it should have been like the wooden puppet where like if you deal a damage to it.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I'm very sorry.
I'm a good boy again. But I mean, like, the plan of just, like, killing it, or even just, like, then, like, killing the Summoned Hound before the Unbound Beast comes is still, like, a thing. But, yeah. It does seem good in Sefina, too. Just turning your 2s into 5s is a pretty good rate.
Yeah, and 3 Meat Soak is also, like, we're kind of bad at that, so.
Exactly, yeah. I wondered if it would be good in Parallel Agnes, too, now that I think about it, because she could also just kill her dog when it's getting close. See you later, puppy.
Yeah. The dog should, like, when you get the weakness, it should get all of the damage that was on the Summoned Hound.
Hell yeah. That's a good... yeah.
Like, they're the same thing. They're one and the same.
They are, yeah. I'm okay. I have so much soak left on me. Anyways, we're here in Innsmouth. For a detailed breakdown of the Bless and Curse cards, check the video description for a link to the relevant archetype guide. Otherwise, we have some notable cards here for us to talk about with Sefina. We have Faustian Bargain. It's a staple. It's really good. And if you can play it multiple times, it gets you a lot of money. And as we talked about here, money is very crucial to Sefina getting going. We have Sword Cane. Playing it does not provoke a tap of opportunity, and when you put into play, you may do its action ability without playing its cost. It allows you to fight and evade with your brain. So, like, the evade one is, like, likely not going to be, like, a exciting part of it. However, being able to fight with your brain, that's better than fighting with two. We have breaking and entering, where you investigate and you add your foot to your skill value. If you succeed by 2 or more, you automatically evade an enemy at your location. This action does not provoke attacks of opportunity. Adding your foot onto your book makes it sick. This is kind of like following the read the signs. And I would wager that in time we're going to just like be talking about breaking and entering like that, which is like, this is just a good card in a lot of rogue decks. Like, it's just like really good. Under surveillance is a little bit of a strange one. You attach to your location limit once per location. After an enemy enters the attached location, discard under surveillance. Automatically evade that enemy and discover one clue to attached location. That enemy is not ready during the next upkeep phase. This one does get better when you play with, when you like know your scenario that you're playing with. Because otherwise it kind of just like you're taking a shot in the dark. But when you have scenario knowledge, this can really go up in value and what you're able to do with it. I think this kind of follows the Premonition plan, where you don't play this as Painted World. Like, you don't play Painted World as this, because then, like, you'll be like, I'm under surveillance. And then they'll be like, Sefina, you just painted on the wall, and there's nothing there anymore. And she's like, good point. Look, I painted a phone.
Even better, it's a drawing of a phone.
Yeah. We have Abyssal Tome. This is a 2-cost, 2-experience item tome asset. Takes up a hand slot. You can exhaust it and fight. You may use either your book or your brain for this attack. Set a fist. When you initiate this attack, you may place 1 Doom on Abyssal Tome. You get +1 skill value and deal +1 damage for each Doom on it. This is a way for you to kill things if you're playing the Doom archetype, or if you just want to like play with the fish book, as Travis and I call it.
The fish book.
Yeah, card seems cool, and can't recall any of us playing with it, but I'm excited to try it out in the future.
I'm definitely going to play this and use my book instead of my punch.
That's called value. All right. Bryn, we're on to Edge of the Earth. What do we got going on here?
We got Underworld support. This is a strange permanent per deck. Purchase at deck creation. Your deck can include... your deck cannot include more than 1 copy of each non-weakness, non-signature card by title. Reduce your deck size by 5. So you get to play a smaller deck, more likely to see each individual card in your deck, like any given piece of your deck, as opposed to like stuff that you might be... If you're looking for something specific, you don't want to play this card. If you're looking to play a double deck, this might be a good idea. Because then you have less cards in your deck that are not named double.
Mm-hmm.
And that card's really strong.
Mm-hmm.
We got Scout Ahead. This one's an event that you move 3 times. Enemies do not engage you during this movement. So you can even walk away from a jellyfish and then walk back through them and be like, do you want the egg? You want the egg? Come get the egg. Yeah. It also commits for 2 foot, which is, there's a lot of green events that do that.
It's relevant for the egg that you're using. Yeah.
It's relevant for the egg that you're teasing the jellyfish about. Yeah, it's just good.
Yeah.
We got 21 or Bust. This one is a 2-costed event. 1 at a time, reveal random tokens from the Chaos bag until you choose to stop. You treat each skull, cultist, tablet, or squid as 5. The tentacle is 10. And the star as 1 or as 11. If the combination of these tokens, ignoring plus or minus, is 18... Can you imagine if it didn't say that? You're just like, -2, I'm at -6.
Yeah. It just keeps going down. You're just busting, yeah.
Yeah. If it's 18 or less, you gain 4 resources. If it is 19, you gain 5 resources. 20, you gain 6, and 21, you gain 9. It's just like a weird level 0 resource option, which strangely green doesn't actually have a ton of. Is it good?
Yeah.
I honestly don't know.
I think it's fine. It's fun. It's fun.
After I bust, I'm going to play this, and then after I bust, I'm just going to make Travis reveal. Like, I'm going to dump all the tokens onto the table and just be like, oh no.
Yeah.
It's too many.
That's so funny. You're like, keep hit me,
Just,
hit me,
yeah.
hit me, hit me.
You know you've already lost, sir.
Yeah, hit me.
Did I stutter? Go down the rabbit hole. This is another permanent one per deck construction only. After each scenario of a campaign, you reduce the experience cost of the first 2 cards you upgrade before the next scenario by 1. You increase the experience cost for you to buy new cards by 1. So this one's kind of a weird one. You got to know where you want your deck to go. That kind of tells you whether this one's going to be good or not. Though I will say, if you're playing a double-double deck, like, maybe. The double-double costs 9 to buy now, but that's not really that different than 8, is it?
That is true. That is true.
It's already exorbitant, like, very, very expensive. Yeah. Is it good? I don't know. We got Ethereal Slip. For your next trick, you get to choose a non-elite enemy at a revealed location up to 2 connections away. You swap places with that enemy, like maybe a jellyfish, or normal enemies too. That could happen too. Kind of just a neat option. We got Hit Me. This is like the weirdest lucky you will ever play. Fast, play after you reveal a chaos token from the skill. During a skill test, you reveal another token, switching its negative modifier to a positive modifier. If the skill test is revealed, if this the revealed token is a skull, you fail. Your test automatically fails. This one has a lot of neat applications, though, if you are playing with either blessed or cursed cards as well, because sometimes you didn't reveal one and you want to try again.
Yeah.
Plus the curse token, if you hypothetically reveal a curse token with this, will now be a +2.
Wow, it's a blessed
So that's
token.
kind of neat.
Yeah.
While still retaining all of its cursey goodness.
Yeah.
We got Counter Espionage. This one is a card to play against the Mythos deck. It is much like its younger siblings, but more successful. For 2, it's fast. You play when you draw a non-weakness treachery. You cancel that card's revelation effect and draw the top card of the encounter deck. You can increase its cost by 2 to change the encounter deck to your deck. You can increase its cost by 2 to change you to any investigator. I don't know about you guys, but I don't like drawing Ancient Evils. I would rather draw the top card of my own deck. That sounds like a fair deal to me.
Yeah, and notable too, it's very roguey, where even if like someone else doesn't draw the Ancient Evils, because you make it any investigator, you still get a draw from your deck.
yeah. I mean, it wouldn't be a green card if there wasn't some sort of selfish bent to it.
Like, thank you.
We got Black Market. This one's a weird card. I thought this card was going to be trash before I played with it.
I think it's really strong.
Yeah,
I thought the same thing. We all did.
So it's 2 XP, 1 to play. Fast, play at the beginning of the investigation phase, which can be kind of tough if one of your friends just wants to play the game as quickly as possible.
No shade on Travis. No shade.
However, 1 at a time, you reveal cards from the top of any investigator's deck until you have revealed exactly 5 cards. Then you set those cards aside, out of play. Well set aside, any investigator may play any of those cards as if they were in their hand at the start of the whatever phase. When you're done, you shuffle them back into their respective decks. This card just kind of does a lot of things. Half the time what I was using it for was to fix bad mulligans.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's just sort of like I threw away all my cards that weren't this one for a thing, and I didn't find it. Let's play this, and we'll see if the next 5 cards are that. Because if they're not, then like, well, shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
also,
you can use it to fix anyone's mulligan.
Yeah. Also, just like really spicy too with like double. Just like,
Yeah.
let's get 10 cards that everyone can play with.
Yeah.
Yeah. The card is kind of bonkers.
It's just sort of good.
Yeah, sort of good.
And with the painted world, you could be like, check it out. I painted a bunch of illegal goods.
Yeah. And they're like, oh,
Does anyone want any of these paintings?
Yeah. I'll buy it. Yeah.
Yeah. Sort of like Andy Warhol, but instead of soups, it's like a gun and a magnifying glass.
And Dr. Milan Christopher.
Yeah.
All right. What do we still got going on here? So we got the red clocks, level 2 and level 5. I'm not going to talk about these guys too much, but like they're very good. The level 5 version, I still believe that if you get out on turn 1, you're going to win the scenario. Cards just like so good. It gives you resources and it gives you skill value, movement, and actions. Things that are just very, very good. Yeah. We know these cards. We love these cards. If this is your first time here, read the card and just like know that like it's going to be producing for you constantly without you doing anything besides playing it. Notably, it is exceptional, so you do want to find it. And you never mulligan it. Because, I mean, and luckily with Sefina, you do get to look at 13 cards. So exceptional cards also go up in value for her. That's why she's the one that most often I've seen people talk about playing double in. We got Moxie, which makes your 2 good stats even better. Notably, Moxie is actually like... Sefina is probably the best user of Moxie in the Rogue Pantheon. I should have said... Rogue's Gallery is the better term for it. But so like you get your brain and your foot go up to 5, which is already really good. You can then spend resources to make it even better. And it's also fast. It also gives you 3 damage soak, which is your bad stat. So like Moxie has a lot of really good stuff going for it. And you should consider playing it in Sefina. I think it's really nice there. We have Parallel Fates. This is the wrong one. This is not the level 2 one, so we're not going to pretend this card's not even here. So much so I'm going to put this card over it. Oh my god, it's a giant Charlie Kane. That's not what I expected. Yeah, so apologies for that, but we'll just go. Basically, you get a look at the top cards of the encounter deck and stuff like that, or your deck. Let me just pull it up. I can get it. Oh my god, look at that. It's Parallel Fates, the correct one. So with this one, it's you look at the top 6 cards of Investigator's deck or the encounter deck. You may either return them to the top of that deck in any order or shuffle them into that deck. If you looked at an Investigator's deck, that Investigator may draw 1 card. Yeah, basically you can like... So there's a cool thing that you can do with this one that I think is notable in Sefina. You can look at your Star of Hyades, if it's in your top 6, and say, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to draw it in 5 instead, right? And then you could even, like, if you played this as a painted world, you can do it again and say, you know what I'm going to do? I think I'm going to draw this Star of Hyades in 5 instead. So that is like a noticeable thing there that's good for Sefina. We have the Protecting the Anurnic. Fast. Play after an ally asset location is discarded by a card effect or is defeated. Either return that assets to its owner's hand or its owner draws 3 cards. Well, I have not played with this card yet, personally. I think this card's great. And if you're running like any sort of ally, which you probably are, this card's probably just worth it. Like, it's just like a really good card. If you are playing disposable allies, it becomes even better because then your David Renfield turns into 3 cards. Wow. That's spicy. We have Branded Cthugga, Earthly Serenity, and Divination. These are all we talk about in our spell videos. Branded Cthugga deals damage. Earthly Serenity does healing. Divination does clue getting. Notably, these all have a nice thing where you only spend charges when you succeed, and you only spend charges equal to the amount that you want to do. So damage, healing, and clues. Really nice suite here. Consider checking them out. All right, Bryn, why don't you finish off... Oh, this is easy. There's a lot to talk about the same stuff. All right, why don't you finish off Edge of the Earth?
All right, we got the upgraded Ethereal Slip. Difference here is that it costs 1, commits for an extra foot, and it's any revealed location instead of 1 up to 2 connections away. Admittedly, 2 connections away is frequently any.
That is true.
Yeah. Oh, we got the precious mementos of a previous life and a future life. They're very close to the same card. They're limit 1, insert subtitle here, per deck. And then after you fail a skill test by 2 or more, you exhaust it to heal a damage from it, or after you succeed a skill test by 2 or more, you exhaust it to heal 1 horror from it. The other one is the same thing, but vice versa. They even chose to reverse the skill icons on this card, which is a nice touch.
You didn't get me that time. I was like, oh, what did they choose, Bryn? I was like, no, I remember this trick. Not this time.
We got the Unscrupulous Loan. This card has a couple of neat applications. One, if you are not using your XP for other things, you can just be like, hey, 0 for 10 money. That's kind of neat.
Yeah.
Or if you're playing a dragon deck, or you can just play this and be like, I will be able to pay 10 at the end of this game, but it also doesn't matter because the game will be over now.
Yeah.
But I've got 10 more resources than I should. It's just a lot of money for not a whole lot of investment. Mostly, I think you want to be playing Hot Streak instead of this, unless you intend to abuse it, like one of the 2 ways that it can be, like either because you're not using your XP for other things, really, or because you're going to still have the money when the game's over.
Yeah, like especially if you're like a big money dragon deck where you're like doing back fan stuff, which is notably not here. It is good in Sefina for a dragon deck, but yeah, I think so. Like if you're looking at spending your money, Hot Streak's better, but if you're looking at hoarding your money, you can't do better than Unscrupulous Loan. Yeah,
if you're looking at hoarding the money, because the banks won't punish you if you're rich.
Yeah. Wow. That's just commentary from the Arkham team. I love it.
We got Crafty. It's a 3-costed asset. It commits for 2 foot, but if you're playing it, probably don't. It's got uses 2 resources. They refresh at the start of each round. The resources on it may be spent to pay for insight, tool, or trick cards. Notably, a lot of the events that we can play are either insights or tricks. During a skill test on an insight, tool, or trick card, you can spend one of the resources on Crafty to gain +1 for the skill test.
I'll take them. So yeah, turning those stats into better things while you're doing the test is good. But obviously the big thing about this card is the fact that you get like free money out of it. That's just like really nice. Antiquary right next to this one. It does the same thing, but for favor, relic, and rituals. So like if you look even on this one, as Bryn said, Ethereal Slip's a trick. If you have a lot of tricks and insights in your deck, rituals, favors, the intel report and the small favor conveniently they're also favors as well. So Antiquary is good for that. Basically, these are nice if you're focusing on those traits. Last cards here for our Edge of the Earth. We have 2 copies of Blur. The level 1 and the level 4. These are covered in our spell videos, but they follow the previous thing where you use your book or your brain or the stat to do the thing. This one is evading. If you succeed, you can spend the charge to take an additional action. And then if you succeed, you may spend 1 or 2 charges to take that many actions this turn out. A Blur. Sefina's on the art, so that is going to be good. It's some of the best. I love that art. The Sefina art on that card is really good. Notably, they also all have if you succeed by 0, but just like don't. And if you do, just do it, I suppose, because you've already done it. But we talk about them in greater detail in the spell videos. All right, we're on to the return twos. So I'll take these guys. We have Hot Streak level 5. This guy gets you 10 resources. 5 for 10. It practically just doubles the 5 that you put in. You need to have 5 to play it, And like generally the other one is just like better, but it does cost more experience. So don't be afraid to stop at Hot Streak 2 to get to the next level. It just consider like it's a stepping stone, right? It's not your final goal, but if you need to like don't have the experience, just buy the middle version.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have Think on Your Feet, 0 cost to experience. When an enemy enters your location instead of when you draw an enemy, this makes it a lot better. So if this was your plan, like that is making it better is good. We have the upgraded Rite of Seeking. It's just better. We talk about it in the spell videos. More brain, same clues, but more brain. Which is noticeable because 4 brain isn't like a lot of brain. It's a good amount of brain, but it's not like 5 brain. You actually will feel the difference there. Then there's Storm of Spirits, the upgraded one. This does more brain for your attack, more damage, but also more damage to other people if you reveal one of the symbol tokens. So just be very aware of that. Also for yourself, because you only have 5 meat damage available to you, and this now deals 2, which is, if you look at math, like 40% of your health. Which is kind of wild, actually. We have Suggestion, the level 1 version. If it has no charge, discard it. Exhaust it, add your brain value to your skill value if you do not succeed by at least 2. So basically it's losing the dodge. It loses the dodge text.
Yeah. This one's like literally lockpicks for evading.
Yeah. Honestly, though, that actually makes it a little bit nicer to me. Because, like, that's just... Like, that's a lockpicks rate. Like, this is actually... Yeah, you're right. This is just lockpicks for evading.
Yeah.
Wow. We have the Fool. The Fool is a tarot card. You can only have 1 tarot card unless you have other special things that can make it better. And when the game begins, it's like all tarot cards, you're going to put into play. When you play a card, you can exhaust the Fool to reduce the card's cost by 1, saving a bunch of money in the process. Hopefully, that's the goal anyway. Notably, tarots have a special spot in Sefina, and that's where Moon Pendant comes in. You have 1 additional tarot slot, and each non-weakness tarot ass in your hand or committed to a skill test gains Wild. And when the game begins, you can put Moon Pendant into play if it's in your opening hand. Tarots are good in Sefina, notably because she has a giant hand size. So she is more likely to see tarots at the beginning of the game. I'm pretty sure Bryn has either built one or has some sort of... It's like one of our jank builds, but it's very possible with Sefina.
Yeah, no, I definitely played an Anna Caslow Sefina deck.
So sick. All right.
Because the green and the purple one are both, like, the level 1 green and purple ones are both so good.
Yeah, definitely.
For what you want.
All right, Bryn, we're on to the investigators. What do we got here?
We got Pilfer. So in my experience, this card is like pay 4, draw the red token, sweet. However, when it isn't that, it does cost 4, which is like a little hefty. Mm-hmm. But it's an investigate that uses your foot instead of your book. And if you succeed, you discover 2 additional clues at your location. 3 clues is a lot of clues. Mm-hmm. Yeah, not too much else to say about that. It's just a lot.
Yeah.
We got Sneak By. This is an interesting resource option at level 0. It commits for 2 foot, which means it's really good if you're playing the Jellyfish Egg. And it's just evade. When the action begins, gain 2 resources. So you get a little bit of action compression instead of that 3rd resource out of like your emergency cash stand-in. We got Nimble. This card is not on the Rogue staple list, but it only is not because it didn't really exist at that point. Mm-hmm. This card is just playing good. If you're playing a green deck and you're not playing Preston Fairmont, or like maybe Jenny because she also kind of sucks, like any of them who've got a reasonable foot score, mm-hmm. Nimble is sweet. For each point, it commits for a foot. For each point the skill test succeeds by, after it resolves, you may immediately move to a connecting location to a maximum of 3 times. Mm-hmm. You don't even need to get the 3 most of the time.
No. Even just 1, it's like, thank you. Yeah.
If you get to move once, you're just sort of like, shortcut, hey?
People pay right? 1 experience for that in Blur.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's just kind of good.
It is a good card.
We got the Robes of Endless Night. They cost 3. They take up our body slot, which is a relatively uncontested slot. They soak for 2 meat, which is not nothing. And as a reaction, when you play a spell card, you can exhaust it to reduce the cost of said card by 1. I believe this interacts with the Painted World the same way as Uncage the Soul, but I'm not certain about that. It's just an interesting option for economy if you're playing a spell-heavy Sefina deck. And besides, I mean, who wouldn't want to wear these robes if you could, really?
Yeah, they're gorgeous.
They're pretty cool looking. We got upgraded Cheap Shot. This one is a fight. You add your foot value to the skill value for this attack. If you succeed by 1 or more, then you automatically evade the attacked enemy too, because Pocket Sand. If you succeed by 3 or more, you return the Cheap Shot to your hand at the end of your turn. Just kind of neat. The upgraded Slip Away, it's much the same thing as the first Slip Away, but with the same kind of rider text as the Cheap Shot. If you succeed by 1 or more instead of 2 or more, you get the evade twice, if non-elite, and if you succeed by 3 or more, back to your hand at the end of the turn. Upgrade.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go for it.
It always blows my mind just how helpful the Winifred deck was to Rogue. Like,
There's a lot of good
really
green cards.
did a lot for Rogue.
It is the truth.
Like even the level 0 lockpicks, even though like they're not great, it gives like you can still do something at the start.
Yeah, you get to play the game in scenario 1 instead of being like, okay guys, get me 2 XP because I'm gonna evade, guys.
Yeah.
We got the upgraded manual decks and the upgraded guts. They're the same as they were the first time, except that they now commit for 3, and if the skill test is successful by 2 or more, you get to draw 2 cards instead.
Yeah.
Just kind of neat.
Yeah, they're definitely not priority, but if you're going into scenario 8 and you're like, hey, this Guts is still in my deck, might as well just upgrade it.
Yeah, it could just be a better Guts.
Yeah. All right, 4 more cards here. We have the upgraded Pilfer. It's pretty much the same as the first, but if you succeed by 2 or more, you get to return it to your hand at the end of your turn. That's very expensive. We're not going to pretend that 4 resources is not expensive to recur.
So much.
But even if you return it and you play it 1 more time, that's good. That's like I think there's decks that can obviously be built to just continue to pilfer over and over and over again. But I think if you just look at the pilfer as, hey, this card, basically I can play it twice, like that's good value. Then we have the upgraded Backstab, which is like the same. If you succeed by 2 or more, return it to your hand at the end of your turn. 3 is less than 4 to recur, but it's still like something. So just be aware of it. If your plan is to do this is as I was talking about Intel Report and Small Favor and Decoy. If you want to be doing this, your economy better match your ability to do it. Then we have Chuck Fergus, who is cool if you draw him on time. 3 cost, 5 experience. When you play a tactic or trick event exhausted and choose 2, that event gains fast. That event costs 2 fewer resources to play. You get +2 skill value for performing a skill test during the resolution of that event. So obviously this makes things like the Pilfer and Backstab and like the Slip Away and the Pocket Sand that we just were talking about much better because they're now fast or cheaper or better. But he is like, you're going to have to like want to find him. Luckily, Sefina has the ability to find him, but Chuck Fergus can do some really fun things once you get him up and going. And he looks like my fiance's brother, so every time I see that, I just see him. Same with like the club too. He always has that with him.
He's always got the Billy Club.
Yeah, always. We have Robes of Endless Night, the upgraded one. It now doesn't provoke attacks of opportunity. I believe that's the difference, right?
It also costs 1 less to play.
Also costs 1 less, which is actually very noticeable. Those are always like the quietest little upgrades, but they do like a very big thing. So yeah, if you like the original and you want the better one, upgrade it. The provoking attacks of opportunity can be really nice with Sefina, because like it's a spell and like your Painted World is also a spell, so like there's things that you can potentially cheat the game a little bit when that comes to it. Whew, Okay. Well, we have finished another expanded guide. I'm going to touch briefly on the deck that Travis here, which if you notice is like classic Travis fashion, is a Mystic deck as opposed to a Rogue deck. But looking through the stuff here, we have Scroll of Prophecies to help us draw cards, Sword Canes for us to be able to fight and kill small enemies or evade enemies with our brain. We have Sixth Sense to help us get clues. Crystallizer of Dreams is definitely the package that is going on here. David Renfield gives us money and more brain to help our Sixth Sense and our Sword Cane. Astral Travel. Basically, the events are kind of like, let's go through all the events here. We have Astral Travel, Decoy, Deny Existence, Emergency Cache, Faustian, Intel Report, Pilfer, Read the Sign, Spectral Razor, Uncage the Soul, Ward of Protection. So going to what Bryn was saying, let's see where Travis was in this kind of like event count. So we have 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. So that's not including the Painted Worlds, if my math was right. So you can see that the majority of the deck is event cards because you want to hit it. So Astral Travel helps you move, Decoy helps you evade, Deny and Ward are Mythos Protection, Emergency Cache and Faustian get you money, Intel and Pilfer and Read the Signs are here to help you get clues, Spectral Razor helps you hit because Knife Hands are so sick, and Uncage the Soul is even more money for what you're going to want to be doing. Promise of Power and Quick Thinking are great skills. One last thing before we close out this video, Bryn. In this deck, let's say you saw one of your hand was... So how many events we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So perfect. You have every event in your hand. What are the priorities for what you would put under Sefina in this deck?
So usually that decision is governed by how many copies of the Painted World I can see right now.
Okay, let's say you have
Right.
11 one of each your event and 2 copies of Painted World. Let's start there.
Like if I've got 2 copies of Painted World, I probably want to be putting like a Deny Existence or a Ward of Protection underneath my Investigator card because I want to play those lots.
Yeah.
I can probably cheat some sort of an early lead onto the game with those, and I don't really need to concern myself with too much else after that.
Mm-hmm.
I would probably consider putting the Pilfer underneath, especially if I have a Painted World and an Uncage the Soul, so that I can play a Pilfer for 1.
Oh, yeah.
Because that would be very strong. 3 clues is a lot of clues. Spectral Razor, I probably want to keep in my hand because if I want it now.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
If I gotta kill an enemy, you gotta kill an enemy right now.
Mm-hmm.
Similarly, if I have no copies of the Painted World, like my Deny Existences and my Ward of Protections are going to stay in my hand so that I can play them.
Yeah.
After that, I'm pretty much just looking at putting things like maybe my Faustian Bargain or my Intel Report, stuff I'm not going to need right away.
Yeah.
Underneath my Investigator card. Astral Travel probably always lives underneath my Investigator card if I've seen it in my opening hand.
Yeah, definitely.
Because when I need it, I don't actually mind if I have to spend 2 actions for that.
Yeah. Sick.
Yeah, the Uncage the Souls probably never live underneath my Investigator card because I'm hoping to play them with the Painted World or, with something else. I'm not hoping to play my Painted World as Uncage the Souls.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. Well, that was another expanded guide. We're going to be back in 2 weeks to talk about Parallel Agnes Baker. Wow. So we'll get ready for that in the future. Another event-focused Mystic Investigator. We're going to have a lot of saying the same things over again. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Have a good one. And as always, GG's.